We are live with martial artist Joey Castro for the Diamond Nationals post show. Joey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Great. So this is the second time you're coming on the Power Chat series, but definitely not the second time just on Point Fighter Live. A veteran martial artist. So we're here for everybody watching to talk about the Diamond Nationals. So why don't you start off with how you did personally at the tournament?
So at Diamonds, I had a pretty successful weekend. I managed to secure the 18 plus men's forms overall grand championship in Diamond Ring, and the same for 30 plus, the men's 30 plus forms and weapons overall Diamond Ring as well too. So 18 plus was just forms, but 30 plus was forms and weapons amongst the men, women, and everyone over 30. So 2 in 1 weekend. So it was definitely a good weekend for me. So I'm very
And
happy.
we were just chatting about this before we went live. This is an important tournament for you, milestone. Talk more about that.
Oh, so I mean, basically, this is like the last one I had to win, kind of. So like I had the Warrior Cup. I secured the ISK championship this year and won the U.S. Open, and this was like the big one on the bucket list. So I think that's it was. You don't ever want to walk. I don't think I'm walking away anytime soon, but I don't feel you can walk away without a diamonds. I mean, it kind of solidifies, my NASCAR career or my tournament career. So I think. According to Andrew Cavallon's usually good with this stuff, so he says I'm the oldest person to win one actually in the 18 plus, so that's kind of nice. I don't think
Oh,
many.
wow.
Yeah, 37, so I guess that's good.
You guess. I mean, that's great. And it's the trifecta of them. Where's your Warrior Cup in your house?
It's actually right next to me, but it has karate gis on it, right? That's what
Okay. All
it's
righty.
yeah.
Um, and then the ISKA is also a major one. It's a coveted one that you won this year. I mean, between all three of them, what is on the top of your list?
Uh, wow, the talk. Well, it's kind of weird because with the Warrior Cup, that one was very elusive, and you always want to have that. I mean, they're all important. And then like with the U.S. Open, that was one where it's always an epic weekend. It's such a huge tournament, and there's so much going on, and there's always someone high caliber for you to compete against, whether it's Mason or Ariel or Diego or whoever's up there. But Diamonds is just Diamonds is Diamonds. It's the end of the year, so I think all three of them, in a weird way, have their own special places. Um, so I mean, I couldn't pick, to be honest with you. I mean, the Warrior Cup I think turns the most, like someone comes in and they're like, "What's that big thing in the corner?" And I'm like, "Oh, obviously it's a karate trophy, so I got to kind of explain it to them." But with the diamonds, I mean, they're all just special, I guess.
Is the Warrior Cup taller than your son, or is he
It
has he?
is taller than well, maybe not no more. It's taller than one of my sons, so yeah, it's
Okay.
pretty big. Yeah.
All
The
right.
ongoing joke is, when am I going to bring it to the karate school? And that'll be never, because they'll destroy it, or I don't know. Yeah, I'm like, so yeah.
Okay, and I actually remember seeing a rerun of the U.S. Open in Omaha, Nebraska, at a taco shop on ESPN too. So you talk about it being a crazy weekend, and to win that, I mean, obviously we get ESPN in Omaha, Nebraska, but just to think like, wow, this is really making its way across the nation. And Diamond Nationals also has a good night show. I mean, it's not the U.S. Open, but the night show's nice. Overall, what were some of the highlights besides you winning of the event?
Well, I think overall Diamonds has a different. Well, all three of them have a different energy. AK is like the first tournament of the year, and like everyone's real hyped because they want to kick the year off, and you're competing for the Warrior Cup, so you're watching everyone
Mhm.
super in their zone. And then U.S. Open, obviously it's in Disney. There's so many rings, and it's on ESPN. But at Diamonds in particular, everyone's there. It's the end of the year. People are really making. They're trying to push to finish the year strong and maybe get that win they've been struggling to obtain all year. And I feel everyone prepares real hard for Diamonds. Usually, when you see someone come to Diamonds, there's always some upsets, or some people you don't see who aren't in the mix, who wind up in the mix by the end of the year. But I think that perseverance overall, I saw from a lot of the youth and up and coming competitors, definitely stood out to me this year. I saw some newer people on stage, some new people, not new people, but new competitors to the stage. There you go. And I think everyone definitely steps their game up at Diamonds. So you can't show up to Diamonds and not be focused. You have to find a way to regroup and uh, just kind of roll with the punches while you're there. I think that regrouping from Friday to Saturday is really important at Diamonds, more so than any other tournament. Because I feel like the days always shake up at that one. this isn't my first diamond. So yeah, I guess
Mhm.
it's one
And
thing.
you observed that I want to call it like getting remotivated to put your best foot forward at this last event. For you as a competitor, what kind of reignites your motivation? Because you and I both know it oscillates, it goes up and it goes down. So what is it for you?
Well, I think what a big part of it is, mainly leading from the front. A lot of the competitors who I competed against when I was younger kind of stepped away, and they kind of just teach. But I like stepping on the mat with my students I work with, and motivating the kids, and even kids I don't work with. Like usually on Friday, I do a real light warm up with a bunch of them, give them some words of encouragement. I like giving back in that aspect. But I do know that when I go to a tournament like any NASCA in general, I think any tournament at some point, and I don't say this with any ego, but at some point you become the trophy. Like some people just they know you're the guy to beat, or even if you're not the guy to beat, you're the guy they're shooting for.
Hmm.
And so you have to be on your game from that perspective, and you have to separate, wanting to win and more so just focusing on your execution. Because I believe at a certain level, even if you're better, and I've had judges say this to me that weekend actually, Saturday I came up a little short. One judge said, "You were good, he was good too, but I've seen you look better." And
That's the
that kind of
worst when
tells
they
me
compare you to
to
your
you, yeah.
best, but not
So
to the competition. I've
and
had
that
that happen to me too. And like they say, "Oh, I've seen you do better," but I'm not competing against two tournaments ago, Bella. I'm competing against that person.
Yeah, but I do get where they're coming from. Like I don't take that personally. I get that
Mm,
I have to be on my best, and I feel that's something I have to affirm to myself prior to going to the tournaments, while at the tournaments, and in preparation for the tournaments. I do feel even though I'm older, I have improved a lot, and I'm always looking for an edge. And even now, I'm working on some stuff to kind of reinvent myself and do some new katas and be in better physical shape. And I think one thing that's given me longevity as a forms competitor and has always kept me in the mix, if not
mm,
winning, is that when I step on the mat, I have certain affirmations I say to myself. One is, I am the veteran, I am the warrior. Like you fear the warrior who's just first time in battle, who has been on in like 100 battles. And I affirm to myself, doesn't matter who's there and who's good. I've competed against some of the best, be it Ariel Torres or Jason Tanks and Borelli or Daniel Sterling. Done it for years now. So I affirm this stuff to myself, and I step on that mat with confidence. And in doing so, I feel a lot of times when I edge out the younger competition, a big part of it is the experience factor. A big part of it is being in the zone, and a big part of it is the seriousness I approach the competition with. I think we talked about this last time. A lot of people are there for the social aspect. When I'm there, it's business. There's a job to be done. We got to get the job done. So, you know, I think that goes a long way. So.
and it also is it's personality, it's character, it's internal motivation, intrinsic motivation, but which is not necessarily something you can pass on to your students. But if you wanted to tell your students or anybody watching how to keep that longevity without, it's saying like this is something I love to do. Well, what would you say to them?
I think you have to have. Well, I know you have to have goals. You have to have goals, and if anybody takes anything away from this, if your goals aren't written down, they're not goals. They're
Mm,
just dreams. Once you write it down, that's something that's tangible. That's something that's in front of you. And aside from the goals, you have to be passionate. You have to be passionate about what you do, and when you're approaching your training, you have to be just as passionate about your training as you're going to be when you're at the event. Now, does that mean sometimes when you train, you're not going to be motivated or you're going to be injured? Yes, but if you were at the event and that was a circumstance, you'd have to push through it. So you have to push through it in training. If you can't push through it and motivate yourself, then it's no good to want it the day of the tournament. Winning happens prior to the tournament. So I think you have to have goals. Obviously you have to be passionate, and you always have to be improving, steady improvement. Working towards that. Making sure you're not taking steps backwards. Sometimes you overwork, or you're working a certain way, and it's actually not getting you the progress you want. At the end, at the highest level, it's a game of inches, and you win by that 1/10. And that 1/10 could be several things. It could be how you walk onto the mat. It could be how you walk off of the mat. It could be one section of your form. It could be your pacing. It could be your spirit. It can be, something you have no control over whatsoever, which is, judging or where you're up in the mix. But what you do have control over is your preparation. And I think at the highest level, if you want longevity in this, you have to prepare. You have to have those goals, and you have to, you have to have your way of, and I remember you doing this in particular. You have to have when you go out there on the mat, your way of getting into your zone. I think a lot of people just hope they're going to step on there and it's just going to click on. You have to have whatever you do that anchors you to step into your greatness. So I think that's a big part of it. And I think if you do that, and you have to have fun too at the same time. Losing sucks, but if you enjoy what you're doing, then you're going to be more inclined to put your best foot forward and do it consistently. So I think that's a big part of it.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned that the Diamonds is the kind of the unofficial end because there's still Pan Ams left. But, it kind of for some marks the end of the NASCA season. Now, for you, either for you or for your students, what is the recipe for this off season kind of now to go into AKA with your best foot forward? What is that off-season recipe?
I think if you're a competitor that didn't, I'm sorry, did you finish the question? If you're a competitor that didn't get what you wanted, or you're kind of right there, or maybe you did achieve something right now is the important time to train, because this is when Thanksgiving comes, Christmas comes, and people, they're finished with the big ones and they kind of ease up. And this is the point where you can push yourself, hit Pan Ams, hit Toronto, hit some locals, get some mat time in, or maybe not even hit them, but just really grind so that when you do show up, you're better than you used to be. So that's something I tell myself too. I try to take note of when I see someone kind of easing off. I do my best not to do that. I don't really have an off season because I do this for a living. I teach karate every day. And even on the days when I don't teach karate, I teach my kids. So I can't think of a day. I tried to do it once. If I don't do karate, I feel dirty. It sounds weird. Every day I do something with karate. So I think if you approach your training like that, and not just your training, but your martial arts lifestyle, then you're going to show up, what is it, like 3 months from now, 2.5 months from now at AKA, much better than your competition. And, that goes to say, you got to remember that a big competitor is yourself. You have to show up better than yours. So if you didn't train or put your best foot forward for the next 2.5 months, and if you did, there's two versions of you. You want to make sure that version of you is the version you're competing against. So you don't want to show up and that guy that could have been you at AK isn't you because you didn't put the work in. There's nothing worse than having an opportunity and not being prepared for that opportunity. So I think going forward, there's no off season. There's work to be done. Ease up. You can ease up, but you got to just every day a little bit goes a long way, as opposed to once or twice a week doing a lot. That's how I look at it. So.
And opportunities are there to be seized. They're there to be seized, to taken advantage of, and for you to grab them. So it's a great reminder.
And I always say greatness, people chase greatness. You don't chase greatness. You prepare, and then there's opportunity, and you have to seize your greatness. You step into your greatness and you seize the moment. And there's nothing worse than, what's that? There's a saying, I might butcher this, I hope I don't. It's better to have no opportunity and be prepared than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. And there's, when you fumble, there's no one to blame but you if you didn't put the preparation in. That this is the season now. Don't look at it like it's the end of the year. Don't be satisfied with just making it to the stage or just winning the diamonds. Shoot for everything else. Have whatever the next goal is. So yeah, that's pretty important. Okay. That's how you become great. Or your version of greatness. Everyone has a different version of greatness.
That is true. Okay. All right. Well, Joey, thank you so much for coming on to the Power Chat series. We always talk a little bit about the tournament, but you always share a lot more wisdom than I came in with the conversation. So I appreciate it.
I want the competitors to be, the better they get, the better I get. So that helps me, and I want to walk away knowing that people are still hungry and putting their best foot forward. We all want the sport to go forward, not backwards, right? So.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. For everyone watching, thank you so much for joining the Power Chat series. Stay with us as I bring on Drew Derek Bisbee for the next one.
Okay. See you guys soon. Bye.
Take care.